Hi guys, so today we're going to be talking about mental health, and I guess I just want to know, what does mental health mean to everyone? I will start. To me, mental health basically means taking care of your mind, your body, your soul. It means having to put yourself first once in a while. And when I say taking care of your mind, your body and soul, like I said, putting yourself first once in a while, looking after your body, whether that is exercise, going for walks, going to the gym, even just like, going out with your friends. I still consider that to be exercise, because, when you're walking and going shopping, yada, 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 that's exercise. You're getting your steps in. And then your soul, and I think that's just reflecting. I think all of that, in my opinion, is part of mental health. And most importantly, not being afraid to ask for help when you need it, as I feel that is something that as people we struggle to do. What about everyone else?
I agree. I'd say that mental health to me is kind of the same thing. It's looking after your mind, or thinking about your mind in the same way that you think about your body. So if you fell over and you got a cut and you see that physically, it's like, okay, what are you doing in your day to day that affects your mental health, whether it is in a positive or negative way?
I think it's a bit of like a buzzword at the moment as well. Like, sometimes what I've realized for me and my mental health is it's like really basic things, like eating more fruit, drinking more water, actually not scrolling aimlessly at night and getting like 8 hours sleep. So it's like sometimes mental health and maintaining it and looking after yourself can seem like you need to do all the major things, but for me it's like taking care of the little things, the things you might not notice that can be affecting you, but they are.
I think health and well-being, as you said, is really under the spotlight at the moment. And the educational piece around that is very big, and it's being very well received, I think, by the nation. So like you said, Joe, about your physical health, and then I think people understand now about protein, carbohydrates, macros, all those sort of things. People have a better understanding about that, and now the shift has gone to sort of mental health and well-being. And just understanding that times where you might have felt in a certain way, being able to define it as, okay, yeah, this was when I wasn't okay, and these are the things that make me feel okay and get me back to sort of a balanced sort of equilibrium. So all of those things, I think, even with myself, or other people, just really helping others understand that it's okay not to be okay as well. That's a whole other piece that's really been pushed out there, the narrative, and it's great. I really stand by it, because I feel like we have a culture of everybody's trying to justify their decisions or their actions, or sort of thing, that there needs to be a reason for it. But sometimes I just wasn't feeling okay that day, and that's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I read something recently where it was talking about some companies introducing like mental health sick days. So, if you were like really struggling with your period, or really having a down day, or struggling with anxiety, you would be able to use a sick day, which shows like how the world's changing, because that definitely wouldn't have been something that was even thought about even a few years ago. I remember going to like some training at work, management training, about dealing with staff members in mental health, and one of like the senior managers from a different site was like, yeah, if someone at interview said that they struggled with bipolar, I just automatically wouldn't hire them. And I definitely think that attitude is changing. I think no matter who you are and what you did in the last like year and a half in this pandemic, you probably went for a point where you struggled, or you knew someone that really struggled with their mental health. And so it's made mental health issues seem less like a them and us, and made it more like this can actually happen to anyone at any given time and affect anybody. And it's not about being strong or weak or whatever. Like, we're human. Sometimes we struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely less taboo now. And a lot of people, for example, with your example, people didn't know what bipolar was, and it just sounds something very negative. It almost sounds like some sort of disease or even contagious, and it's those sort of things people really like to shy away from. And as humans, we do kind of shy away from the unknown or uncertainty sort of things. So now that we understand more about stuff, then it's been digested. It's like, oh, okay, oh, you have that, oh, I understand that, I'm familiar with this, it's fine. And that whole sort of formula is something that we kind of apply to life as humans, and just now it's being applied to mental health and well-being, and it's great because it's for the greater good.
I also feel like now that we have names for things as well, people who probably in the past would have been like, actually, my mental health is fine, I don't suffer from anything, would be like, actually, when you think about it, maybe I do identify as having anxiety or depression or bipolar disorder, different things like that. And I think the pandemic has really, like you said, given people a level playing field in the fact that everyone was in the same situation. We were in the second lockdown, I think, which was in the depths of winter. Everyone was kind of at home in their head the whole time. So people who probably didn't have diagnosed mental health issues at that time were probably feeling like, oh, actually, I feel incredibly anxious, or I'm doing things that are OCD behaviors, or, oh, I have severe depression now because of it. So I think more people are talking about it and thinking about it in a different way.
I think where a lot of people realise as well is when it was like the lockdown was lifting, and people that had been so excited for it and couldn't wait, and they suddenly had these like unexplained feelings of anxiety, and it was like, what's going on here? What is this? Why am I feeling this? There was like a lot of people I spoke to that were like, this is the first time that I can think of that I felt anxious for like an unexplainable reason. And people are speaking about it more. People are speaking more openly about it. It's not taboo. I do think still culturally it can be though.
Definitely. I think where we had the lockdown, we had the pause, it allowed people to take the time to maybe read things or just be exposed to things that maybe they were too busy to do before. But culturally, I think in the Black community, that was very apparent, where it gave us an opportunity to stop and look and be like, oh, okay, these things do happen, these things are happening to our people. And there is an element of, because we are speaking very generically here, but there are certain issues where it is very much a cultural thing, and only sometimes another person, a fellow person within the community, will really be able to understand and empathize with what you're going through and be able to provide you with that support. Not to say you have to be a Black person, but it's part of the community, or an understanding of the culture, I think is a very big thing.
Definitely. I think it's difficult. Like personally, I have therapy once a month, and my therapist is not Black. And if I'm going to explain something that is to do with like my family heritage or being Caribbean or something which we know is like very standard behavior for like one of our aunts or something, I have to say, well, she does this because blah, blah, blah. I feel the need to give a little backstory about the what and the why that I probably wouldn't have to if we had the same background.
No, I definitely get what you mean as well. In terms of culture, I feel like, especially in the Nigerian community, I'm just speaking from experience, I feel that talking about mental health is a bit of a taboo, and that if you do have any struggles with mental health, the answer has always been that you pray on it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with prayer, you know, you do what works for you. However, sometimes you also do need to speak to an outside voice, you know, someone, a third party, someone that's not familiar at all. And I don't feel like it is encouraged the way that it should be. And however, I am seeing that more now than ever, people are especially like in the Black culture, they are speaking up about mental health. You know, on Instagram, I follow a group, and it is about Black people speaking up about their mental health. And I found it to be very helpful because it's made me feel that I'm not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone has heard the thing, like, you don't need therapy, you have God, and things like that. And I feel like that's something that has been passed down for generations in so many different Black families. And it's something that is still said to this day. So the fact that you have people on social media who are so openly talking about it, and that they are Black, and I know for me, if it's a young Black person specifically, then I'm like, oh, actually, this is someone I can identify with and relate to. And if they're okay talking about it, then I feel empowered to do the same.
And like, even with
Yeah.
social media as well, like we notice as well, like more people in the public eye, they're opening up about mental health. Whereas like 10 years ago, that was quite unheard of. They would actually keep their mental health struggles to themselves. However, now they're opening up, they're speaking about it. They're saying, look here, it's nothing to be ashamed of. We're encouraging you to speak out about it, because when you speak out about it, means that you can seek the help that you actually are entitled to. And I think that's what people forget, that you are actually entitled to help when it comes to your mental health, and that it is okay to actually seek help. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It doesn't make you weak. It just means that you're doing what's best for yourself, and you're just trying to improve, or even just find the answers to whatever it is that's going on in your head that you're unfamiliar with. You know, Selena Gomez, for example, she was experiencing quite a few things. She went to a doctor, she found out that she had bipolar. She didn't know. And that's an example, like she spoke out about it, and as a result, a lot of people, they actually thought, oh, well, I was actually experiencing this as well. And they were able to get diagnosed as well.
It definitely is helpful. I do think it's like a cautionary tale though, because I think sometimes with everything that's on social media, sometimes you can sit there and try and self-diagnose. And everybody is not an expert. Like, I would say we're quite a clued up group of young women in regards to mental health and mental health issues, but I still wouldn't go to any of you to get assessed, and vice versa, you wouldn't come to me for it, because whilst we know a lot, we don't know experts. And I do think sometimes with social media, a lot of people try and maybe self-diagnose or diagnose others, or diagnose themselves and then say, you know, this is what I have, so you have this. And that's where the movement is going a bit left, maybe, with mental health.
I'm not being funny. I cannot stand it. I cannot stand the false diagnosis of individuals. You know, you're feeling one thing, all of a sudden, yeah, I was depressed. Yeah, I have anxiety. Like, yeah, it sounds so harsh, but it's bullshit. It's absolute. Like, these are sort of extremities of certain emotions, and the lack of being able to kind of cope with them, or needing the additional support. And it's quite a serious thing. So just to be able to, like, yeah, I have it, just fling out the words, especially now that it's so much brought to the forefront, I just feel like it's really been abused, and I really don't like it, because for the people who truly do suffer, it's especially day to day, where, you know, sometimes it really, they can't even function, the slightest things. I think it's very disrespectful. And it's not to say that people are doing it on purpose, but I think there's just the lack of, it's kind of like jumping on a bandwagon. And it's like, there needs to be also sort of a story of, don't do that, because it's not okay.
You can be anxious and not have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a big difference. Everyone goes through periods of time where they're anxious or where they feel down. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got depression.
Or
Are you in that moment, your mental health might be suffering, you might be struggling, but it doesn't mean that is your label and that you embody that. These are all, like you said, human emotions. And like, putting yourself in such a tight box, you're right, it's 100% disrespectful to people that they have anxiety and they can't literally get up in the morning and function and get on with their life. You are anxious. We all have times like that to different degrees. But that's why I say, like, when you don't have understanding, it's easy to say, I've got anxiety and I'm depressed, and because that, if it's a buzzword, you're just kind of clinging on to the buzzword without knowing the meaning behind it. And you could have actually something completely else going on with you, but you're trying to diagnose yourself based on some influencer's feed and what they're telling you is going on with them.
That's what people like. They like an excuse. They like a reason to justify their behavior. Like, the reason why this is happening in my life is because of this. Like, there always has to be some sort of, but that's not the case. Like, sometimes the reason is, the reason why things aren't going well is because you're not doing the right thing in your life. Like, it's not because, oh, I'm suffering.
I always say, like,
deep sigh.
I was going to say, I always say, with like, it's like with the manifesting thing, it really winds me up when people are like, manifest your life, speak it into existence. I can sit here and be like, I'm going to wake up Beyonce, and it's not going to happen. I can't manifest something that's not going to happen. It's very much like that. Like, you still have to work hard to get what you want.
You can't just have to put in the work. You
can't just be like, I want this, so I'm going to read The Secret and the law of attraction is going to bring it to you. But are you doing anything?
Go and get the blonde highlight, go and get the face. If you want to be Beyonce, then go and do the work. Like, anything's possible if you want to do it, but just work in. Like, just all the talk, but no walk the walk. Can't stand it.
I do believe in having a positive mindset. I do think if you think positively, then more often than not, that is how you like follow through with certain things. But I agree with the whole like manifestation thing. I think that is really buzzy on social media. It's just people being like, oh, I'm going to manifest, you know, those vision boards.
Oh my gosh, they piss me right off. They get on my fucking nerves, honestly.
When you have a vision board and it's like a man who looks like Kofi Siriboe and whoever else.
If I need to put him on a board to get him, I will do it, you know. If this is working tonight, that's tonight's activity after this.
I think that manifesting can actually be good as long as, like you guys said, you're putting into work to get the results. And I feel that one of the reasons why people manifest is because it motivates them to go out and get and do what they want. So I feel that there definitely are advantages of doing that, you know. It's like, especially the vision boards as well. I know people who actually have vision boards and they'll put it on their walls and they'll be like, okay, so this is what I want in life. These are the steps that I'm going to do. And it's just like a constant reminder.
They have steps. That's what's key.
In the work.
Have the board, but have the steps. I definitely think it's good to say out loud what you want. Like, if there's stuff that I really want, I do say out loud, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. But whilst I'm saying that, it's because I'm putting some little pieces in place on my chessboard to make that happen. Yeah, I do believe in yourself, etc. But I think that sometimes can have an adverse effect on your mental health when you're living in like this alternate world where you're waiting for all these things you've asked for to happen and then they don't because you've not done anything. And I think we are like social media itself is really negative for health and well-being. But we're all addicted to it, myself included. Sometimes I have to stop myself from scrolling like mindlessly at nighttime. The TV's on, I'm watching Love Island, but I'm scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah, that's so true. I think sometimes you think that it's helping you, but it's making it worse. Like, I remember when the murder of George Floyd happened last year and I was on social media constantly, especially because a lot of the people that I follow are Black. So I was like, I'm feeling wretched about all of this. Like, it's really messing with me mentally. I'm going to look and see how other Black people are feeling. But it had the opposite effect in that it just made me like in a darker headspace, the more people that I was following and scrolling through. So I think it does, like you said, it really is a double-edged sword.
I mean, it was the comments after the football recently with the players that missed the penalty. And in my head, to be honest, I watched the game and the penalties were missed and, you know, it was what it was. But I just saw it as 3 players. I didn't really see them as, oh, it was 3 Black players and it was only the Black players that missed it. And it's just how my mind is set up. I don't know if that makes me sort of like really ignorant or am I just, my head's in the cloud, but I just don't really, not to say I don't see colour, but there's a time and a place, and just because they were the black ones that missed it, it now became a national thing, and all of the hate, just the hate that they received, and it was all just being reposted and recirculated, and then people were trying to combat that with like sort of praise, and it just made it a very not a pleasant situation or a pleasant time to be on social media. And I know that that's something that upsets my well-being, so I know that I'm not going to be on social media for a few days, but it's just being able to take yourself away from situations, know your triggers, and understand that, okay, this isn't for me, I'm going to take a step aside. But a lot of people don't, either A, can't identify what the triggers are, or B, is having that willpower just to move or to do what you need to do for you. Yeah.
I agree. Like, I definitely felt the same after the football. I have to, George Floyd, even though it was shocking, because it was the police and we've seen it before, like, it's kind of like, not in a horrible way, but you're sort of prepared for it. But with the football, it's like the whole country had come together and everyone was excited. And even when I got the train home that night, I didn't think twice of it. And then I read the news and saw that black people were being like pushed and shoved in the train lines and all this stuff. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, something really bad could have happened to me. And it just made me look at the country we live in another way and look at people another way. And I have to say, I was like in the supermarket on the Monday looking at like everyone who was white around me, like, are these the same people that are on social media writing these hideous things? Are these the thoughts that are going through their head? And social media has raised your awareness. It's given the opportunity for what things that people would have said in front of their TV, in their living room, in their group of friends, they can now go on the keyboard and write it out to the whole world. And we can sit and type in 2 words and read so much racial abuse amongst other things. And for me, I had the opposite. I knew it wasn't helping me, but I couldn't stop reading just because I was like, I just can't believe these are like normal people with jobs and children, and they're on the internet calling people monkeys. I was so horrified. I couldn't stop taking it in, which was not good at all.
No, I agree. When, like with Natalie, so I watched the match as well, and when they missed the penalties, like straight away, I knew what was going to happen, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to stay off social media the next day.
Because you're a big football fan, that's why.
Yeah.
But I knew straight away what was going to happen. And I messaged my brother and my friend. I was like, I bet any money the next day, that's when all the racism is going to start. Like, if I was those players, I will stay off social media for a while, because I just know straight away what's going to happen. And what happened the next day, my brother showed me like some messages of what was like being circulated around the internet. And I was just like, it was just like disgusting, because it's like you said, these same people that came together to support them are the same people that have now decided to sit in front of a keyboard and write so much hate. And what pisses me off the most as well is that they do it on an anonymous account, so that way they can't be traced. So you're there sending these hurtful messages, racist messages as well, on an anonymous account, because you know that deep down what you're doing is wrong, but you don't want it to be seen on your real account, and you're just getting along with your life, you're all merrily, while the people who are actually dealing or actually seeing these things, they're the ones that are suffering. Like, and it's like, I just don't understand, like, do you not think that these people felt bad enough for missing these penalties? Do you not think that they felt bad enough that way as it is? And then on top of that, you guys are sending all of these messages to them. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. And I just feel that if I can just give these people one message, it's just think before you send stuff, think before you speak, because you have no idea the impact that it's going to have on people.
Do you know what's ironic though? Like, we started this saying that things have really changed mental health wise. And then when you think about it, actually, people still don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's so true. And also when you think about it, it shows you that mental health for people of colour, and specifically black people, is like twofold. There's the things that happen that are personal to you, like things that have happened in your life, in your childhood, whatever that could affect your mental health, or whether it's just like chemicals in your brain. But then there's also all of the like racial trauma and things that we have to experience as well.
Yeah, there's an added layer, being Black and being female.
Well, yeah.
It's like I always see, you know, you have like these podcasters every now and then, like debating the attractiveness of Black women. That's so jarring.
Yeah.
Like, why is this still a discussion in 2021?
Absolutely. And it's always those dry, dusty ones. Like, fam, I don't want you. So relax. But it's true. It affects your mental health because it makes you think, like, is there something wrong with me? Just like my very being as a Black woman is that unattractive to everyone, not just this tusty man on the YouTube.
I think like me and they were also talking about it as well, because like with Love Island as well, like,
oh my
especially
gosh,
like
it's
the
so
last
triggering.
few seasons, for the last few seasons, the Black female has always been the last to be picked, and this one's so
getting abused
annoying.
this year, absolutely abused.
No.
Well, it's kind of her own fault to a certain extent, but she's not that smart. But also, it is jarring to watch just men repeatedly come in and use her because she's a fan favorite, and that's the only reason why they're interested in her. And then them say like, "Oh, yeah, I'm into dark features and dark hair. Do you like Black women or not? Like, because we're not dark features, dark hair. You like Black women or you like brunettes with a tan? Keep it real."
It's exactly it. When they say, "What's your type? Is it blonde or brunette?" And that's literally what they mean. Is
dark
it a white
hair
blonde
and
woman
dark features,
or a white brunette woman? It's never.
There's many dark-haired, dark-featured white women out there. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, definitely is something that I feel that like ITV, I'm going to name drop them, they're not ready to address. It's like, and sometimes I just feel like you put like a Black female there just so that she can be like the token Black person.
Yeah, but we'd
then it's
complain
like,
if she weren't there. We'd be like, oh, there's no Black woman on the show.
I'd prefer that. I like my show segregated.
I would, but people would complain.
they would complain, but then at the same time as well, it's like, yeah, put a Black woman on the show, yeah, but you're not putting guys forward who you know would be interested in her. But then again, for all we know, they probably think that, oh, okay, they probably will be interested in them, because when you think about it, Kaz is there, and then she was coupled up with Toby, and then you also had Aaron. Both guys are Black heritage. You would think that, or they probably would think that.
Yeah, but
one
everyone's
of them
not going to be attracted to everyone just because they're all Black.
Right, and this is not
that's
the
way they
radio.
will think, though.
What season?
But I feel like that's the way. That's the way
Oh,
that they
like,
would
I
think.
don't know. We've like many seasons,
Many seasons. We've seen it all before. It's the same recipe. I'm sure. And then Kaz, I'm sure
We
Kaz
know,
has
yeah, they're
seen
not
the show.
every.
And how does Kaz feel about it? How did she feel about potentially going on the show where historically the Black women have not been selected, not been seen?
She thought about that blue tick
and be seen as less. She did not think, oh, I'm not going to go there and be made to feel away. I'm not going to go there and, you know, be a reflection or push a false narrative of my fellow Black females. She said, no, I want to go on a TV show because of, for whatever other gain she'll get from that. It's very matter of fact. So I don't know why people are really like, oh, we shouldn't be put on there or anything like that. As much as we are a collective, we're an individual as well, and she decided to go do that, and that's for her. She knew what she was kind of going to go through. Nothing's changed, so why expect anything else?
It's true, you know, and as I feel like as a Black person, you are meant to go with the grain. Like that's expected for you. Like sometimes I see issues and everyone's commenting and I don't want to comment, but I feel like I need to because it looks bad. But sometimes, not in a horrible way, I don't care. Like I don't have the energy or the mental capacity to jump on every single racial inequality. Like life is hard enough. Like some will really touch you and you want to say something, but you feel compelled with sometimes with everything. And it's like mentally, sometimes you're just trying to process it yourself, but then you've got to scramble to put something on Instagram to look united. And I don't feel like other races feel this pressure.
Oh no, I don't think they do. Definitely not.
I didn't think about that though. We're always.
But then again, they don't go through what we go through at the same time.
Well, this is the thing. There are ethnic minorities in this country that, if you think about, if you're within their communities, this is the same storyline. We feel underrepresented. Why is there not an Asian girl on Love Island ever? Why is there not a Chinese girl or anyone from sort of Southeast Asia? Any of those things that does exist is because sometimes when you're so much in your own bubble, you don't realize that these are the things that are going on as well.
Absolutely. No, I think so.
That's true. And even like now, say we on social media, there's that Black Health Therapy Mind Matters group. Are there like other groups like for other ethnic minorities? Like, I don't know. I'm unaware. And really, there should be those spaces for everyone in an ideal situation, because everyone's mental health matters, you know?
I agree, definitely.
I think there are, but maybe we're just not
aware of it.
privy to it. Yeah.
True. Not clued up. It's weird though. I do feel like the mental health issue, it goes like back and forth because well-being's very selective and people care about it and consider it when it suits them. Like a lot of companies now have put in these well-being policies, but they make mass redundancies and put more work on their existing staff members, and it's like, but we'll care about health and well-being, but you're not taking care of people. It's hard subject because it's still, I don't feel like there's like a lot of like legality around health and well-being, to be honest. It's still very subjective.
Definitely. I think well-being is something that has been like co-opted by brands. I think in the same way as like Pride Month, you take something and you make it like capitalist, or you try to like profit off of it. And I think that's what companies are doing, because if you truly cared about people's well-being, then you would put things in place to stop people being burnt out. And we're seeing that so often at the moment. So many people are complaining about burnout or just not being able to do anything, whether it's with work or in their personal life, just because they are at their wits' end.
But at the end of the day, there is sort of always going to be a priority order in life. And if you want to look at the companies that are doing things in terms of well-being for their employees, and then you look at some companies that aren't, it's because the people are not a priority. The individual is not a priority. The pound sign is a priority. So if we need to make cuts, if we need to make savings, that's what we're going to do, because at the end of the day, we need a profit, we need to make money. And it all comes from the top, or whoever is chairing the organization, and then it's drilled down. So it's not, for example, your manager or your manager. Sometimes it comes from so far above, especially if you're working for some of these major companies, global companies. You'll never see the person who is really driving the culture of the organization. And that's another thing where you want to be cared for in terms of, oh, as an individual, I want to be appreciated, I want them to look after my well-being. Then find a company that prioritizes that. But instead, people prioritize money and think, okay, yeah, I'm joining this big financial firm because they're going to pay me, 6 figures. Okay, that's your priority, and money is their priority. So then don't go at the same time and complain that, oh, I wasn't feeling okay to go to work today, and then they didn't care. No, they didn't. They're paying you because they want to make money. That's the whole point. The company culture needs to align with your own personal values as well. And by signing that contract, you're saying, yeah, my value is the money.
I feel like, though, I have realized that personally, like, as a Black person, your parents grow up telling you, like, you need to be better than everyone else, you need to go hard than everyone else. And you can sometimes end up in a position in a corporate environment where that strength is abused, because your nature is you're putting in 150% and your counterpart is happy to put in 80, and that's down to you. You've set precedent for that, but you're sort of burning your own self out. Sometimes it's not even the business, it's your own you're projecting onto yourself and therefore causing yourself to have those issues and causing yourself to struggle mentally because you're worried about the comparison to your other colleagues. Sometimes it's in your own head. Yes, that's the company's nature, but like, are they going to kill you if you know, don't finish that within that time frame? Like, have you asked the question, or have you assumed that it will be an issue and decided to then overwork?
That's true. But I do think that we come from a background of like hustle culture. I guess it's like obviously described in a different way, where it's like you do have to, like you said, work hard and be at the best place. So even though you know, like consciously, that all of the pressure that you're putting is from yourself and not from the company, you will still overwork and take everyone else's work and not delegate and do things like that, even though you know it's going to have a negative impact on your mental health. I think it just, yeah, I think it kind of depends on the individual, but also what they prioritize in terms of their career and their work.
There's that meme that goes around like about black, like loads of black women post it, where it's like, I don't want anyone calling me a strong black woman anymore. Like, I want to be allowed to feel weak. And like, I feel that with a passion. Like, brave, strong, resilient, pragmatic. Like, stop calling me these words, because it just means that I just keep rolling. Actually, I just want to curl up in a ball sometimes and have a good cry. And I want to be allowed to. Like someone Susan over there. Let me.
Well, then that's the thing of redefining the word strong. Strong doesn't mean you take everything on your back and you just carry on like some donkey. It's strong as in like, I'm strong-willed, strong-minded to know that, okay, I'm not okay. I need to. It's like a gadget. It's the battery's low. You put it on charge. This is my time to put on charge. You're not going to keep going and run it to the end, because it doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to function effectively. The same with us. If you keep going and you're really trying to do all this yard work, you're not going to be effective. And if you think about, if you have a family, those things have knock-on effects to your children, could cause childhood trauma, and then all of a sudden they're suffering from all sorts of mental health conditions, and then they'll go to therapy and it's like, oh, how did it all start? And it's, well, my mum was like this and she used to go through these things, and you don't realize the effects that you have on the next generation.
For sure. Like, I always think about my dad, because he worked for like IBM in the 90s, and he's a computer engineer, and he had like a bad like pains in his chest, and back then you like lifted all your equipment up to fix stuff, and like would go up and down the stairs in central London and all the office blocks, blah blah blah. And that's how he ended up having his first heart attack. He wouldn't go to the hospital and get checked out because, you know, can't take a day off, can't do that. And my mum was saying to him, she said, like I said to him, you're having pains in your chest and you need to go and get checked out. He ended up having a massive heart attack and was never ever the same again, all because, you know, he didn't want to take the time out of the working day to get checked out because he was going to be fine. And I'm sure that would have been okay in the long run. In the long run, he couldn't even do that job anymore. Like, I'm sure the company would prefer he took that time, you know, go and have your heart attack in peace and not work through it. But it's that fighting that mind over matter.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. I used to work in sales and market research, and I remember that I would literally just work these crazy shifts, because in my head I would think, well, when I was working in market research, especially as it was zero contract, I would think, well, if I don't book this day, then it means that they're not going to book me in the next day. So in my head, I felt that I had to book every shift available. That way they will continue to book me. And I did end up getting burnt out completely. Like, there were times where I would go to the toilet and I would just cry because I was just so tired. And then I moved into sales, and, you know, I was working in retentions, and I didn't want to take a day off because I was like, well, if I take a day off, then it means that, you know, someone's going to take my cell. So then I would literally like graft. And like, I remember as well, like, the people that I worked with were great, but then we were in competition with one another so much that it also caused like a tense atmosphere, and it caused arguments. But in my head, it's like, and I think in everyone's stage, you're just thinking, okay, you just have to suck it up here and just chase that money. And it literally got to the point where I was just like, you know what, I would rather take a pay cut if it means that my mental health is better. And I think even now I'm still like in that habit where I struggle to take like a whole week off of work, because it was basically what I was doing for so long. I'd only take like, you know, if I would take a day, it would be like the occasional day or two. So even now I still feel like I still struggle to take a whole week off of work based on what I experienced in the past. However, taking that pay cut, I know for a fact, was possibly the best decision that I made, because I knew for a fact that I couldn't carry on going on the way I was back then.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like knowing what your not breaking point is, because you don't want to get that far, but knowing when to stop, I guess.
Definitely, yeah.
Talking of stop, shall we wrap up there? TBC.